Okay, I want to talk today about the timeline of the autopsies and exhumations of Kendrick Johnson's body and why this is pertinent to what is happening today. The family continues to say that KJ was murdered, and the mother in particular continues to make allegations that Brian Bell had something to do with it. Okay, so the DOJ came in October of 2013, and let me explain a little bit about how we got to the point of the DOJ investigating. I made a little timeline. There were 3 autopsies total. There were only 2 exhumations total. So a lot of people have gotten confused between actual autopsies that were conducted and reviews of those autopsies by the DOJ. So here is my understanding. So in January of 2013, approximately 4 to 5 days after KJ died, the GBI medical examiner conducted an autopsy, and those findings were released along with the sheriff's report of their investigation into KJ's death. That case file was closed in May of 2013 and released to the public in June of 2013, if memory serves. And at that point, the family did not accept the findings, so they hired private pathologist William Anderson to conduct autopsy number 2. So they had to go to a judge and get an exhumation order because people cannot just go into a cemetery and dig up a body. You have to have a judge sign off on it. The KJ family got out and claimed that we had to fight to exhume his body. They didn't want us to do it because they wanted to hide how he died. No, you, Shaveen King, your attorney, should have known this. All you have to do is go to the judge and tell him or her why you need this exhumation, because you're getting a second opinion. And in our case, the judge automatically granted it, but you can't just do it without the judge's order. So that's how they came to the first exhumation, June 2013. The autopsy was conducted very quickly after that, but they did not release their findings until, I believe, October of 2013. Now, I was on a conference call in July of 2013 that I'm going to come back to, and they talked about this second autopsy, and they made very wild accusations at Marianne Gaffney Craft and all of the people at the GBI, and were accusing them of murder conspiracy to cover up how KJ died. But they would not release this autopsy report so that any of us could look at it and question what the evidence they say was present. And one of the strange accusations they made was that they cut his fingernails till they bled. Well, you know, a dead body cannot bleed, but they cut his fingernails, and they did that to hide evidence of murder. And when I went back and looked at the autopsy photos, and you know, if you make these accusations against a medical examiner, be forewarned, there's always at least 2 people in the room when an autopsy is conducted, and they usually videotape it. So, you know, you can make accusations, but most likely, unless your accusations are true, there's most likely not going to be any evidence to back up whatever you're saying. So anyway, William Anderson's autopsy is conducted June 2013. The family won't release the findings until October 2013. They hold a series of what I call publicity stunts where they make all these claims, and they say that when we release the report, it's going to prove what we're saying, but they don't release the report until weeks after it happened, weeks after the report was created. But they did interviews with TV, radio, particularly a lot of black television stations and radio stations and podcasters. So in October of 2013, that was when the DOJ came in, and I was part of the group that advocated for the DOJ to look at KJ's death. And I did it to help the family because I thought the family needed outside eyes to get closure and comfort. And I also did it to help our town because the KJ family had made accusations against virtually every person in a leadership position or a law enforcement position in our county. So I thought that it would help both sides, if you will, to have an outside agency look at KJ's death. But in hindsight, I realized that it was futile. But anyway, the DOJ did come in, and what they did was they hired David Fowler, who was with the medical examiner of Maryland State Office, and another Department of Defense medical examiner, and that name, to the best of my knowledge, has not been revealed. Sheriff Polk may know this name because he has the DOJ files. A judge is looking at the files and the request from Sheriff Polk to open these files to the public. Sheriff Polk has gone on record in at least one interview that I saw, and he said he believes the DOJ is keeping these files sealed because they do in fact know that they messed up and that there was no probable cause for them to raid all of the family's homes that they raided. So then this opened in October of 2013, and then the DOJ closed their case in June of 2016. So as you can see, we went on for over 2 years. Yeah, if my math is correct, it went on for approximately 2.5 years, this investigation. So when they closed it, the DOJ, and again, this was under Attorney General Eric Holder, appointed by President Obama, the DOJ closed their investigation, and you can find their statement on the web. Just Google Justice Department, death of Kendrick Johnson, closes, keywords, you'll find it. And I want to read you what they say in their statement so that you get a much broader understanding of what they did. And it's right here in the middle here. Okay, so I'm just going to read it. Lawyers and investigators from the DOJ, the United States Marshal Service, and the Metropolitan Police Department for the District of Columbia conducted a thorough and comprehensive investigation of the events surrounding KJ's death. The investigation included interviewing nearly 100 people, reviewing tens of thousands of emails and text messages, reviewing surveillance videos from Lowndes High School, and analyzing other available information regarding the events of January 10th, 11th. KJ went missing on the 10th. He was found on the 11th, 2013. The investigative team also consulted with an independent Department of Defense medical examiner and hired another independent medical examiner, forensic pathologist, who reviewed relevant medical records and both autopsy reports. Okay, so then they go on to say that in order to establish whether his civil rights were violated, they would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that someone or other people killed KJ, but that the killing was motivated by racial animus, meaning race hatred. So they found nothing to indicate race hatred. After extensive investigation, they said that there was insufficient evidence to prove that someone or some group of people willfully violated his civil rights or committed any other prosecutable federal crime. So consequently, they have closed the investigation without filing any federal charges. Now remember, people were accusing the Bells and other people in our community of witness tampering and obstruction. So that's why the DOJ authorized raids on 6 homes, and they took cell phones and computers. They also went to the sheriff's department and got computers. I don't know if they took cell phones out there. And I think that's when they took the hard drives, or they may have just been given the hard drives early in the investigation, along with the mat when they took the gym mat. So that's what they were looking at. They were also looking for any kind of communications between the girl that the Kendrick Johnson family accused of luring KJ into the gym. So they looked for anything that might tie her to him going into the gym or to anything else in his life. And there was no evidence of that, and there was no witness testimony that put them together. And I talked about Domek Hernandez yesterday and why his accusations were not believed. So consequently, in 2016, the DOJ closed their case. All right, well, that didn't sit with the KJ family, but they waited until June 2018, and they hired their same private pathologist again, and they conducted a second exhumation. And this same doctor that performed the second autopsy also performed the third autopsy, and he was assisted by another doctor, I believe, or a nurse, but I can't remember the names or exactly what their title was. And he didn't issue another report. What he did was he added an addendum to his first report, which was the second autopsy. And he said that he missed something in this autopsy, which he claims he found in this autopsy. So that's where the situation is regarding any medical, scientific, physical evidence around the body of KJ. Right now, 2022, the family is trying to get a congressional inquiry opened into the death of their son, and they're also seeking the Biden DOJ to reopen an investigation into the death of KJ. And I doubt that either of those are going to happen, but in the case of the DOJ, I'm pretty sure that these doctors continue to talk to people in the DOJ under President Biden, pardon me, and they and I'm sure they are saying there was not any physical, scientific, or medical evidence besides what this one private pathologist said. And what he said was blunt force trauma. He has been quoted in interviews as saying it was less than 1 inch. So he was never put on the stand. He was never cross-examined, and in my opinion, he was mistaken, and in my opinion, there's simply nothing else that could account for what he says he found, because just because you say, hey, there was blunt force trauma, you still have to say how that happened. You can't just say, I found blunt force trauma, therefore put these people in jail. You have to have witness testimony or other physical evidence in the form of video or DNA or something of that nature that puts these people around the deceased at the time of death or before his body is found, something of that nature, and there is simply nothing. And let me come back to the DOJ conclusion. They interviewed over 100 people or up to 100 people. I know they sat 2 grand juries. They collected all of these cell phones and computers, both from the sheriff's office and from 6 homes that the people that the Johnsons accused. They collected all of that communication devices, and they found nothing. So people, as I have said before, and I'll continue to say, if there were a black family being accused by a white family without any credible evidence, then the majority of people who still stand with the Johnsons would be on my side in this case, and they would be saying, hey, an innocent family is being railroaded. So wipe your conscience, start thinking about what it means to be black or white and what the truth means. Is it the truth? Is it a different truth for black people and a different truth for white people? It may be in your mind, but the science is the science, the findings are the findings, and I think it's very credible when you have a DOJ under Obama doing an investigation and saying, we did not find any evidence to suggest that a black boy was targeted and murdered and that his death was covered up. Okay, take that as you will. Bye.